The Suez Canal was opened in 1869, after 10 years of work financed by the French and Egyptian governments. After completion, it became instantly of huge strategic importance as it provided the shortest ocean link between the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean. The canal helped ease international trade and European colonial powers could more effectively govern their colonies. The canal was operated by an Egyptian company, and the land next to the canal was Egyptian territory. In 1875, as a result of debt and financial crisis, Egypt was forced to sell its shares in the canal operating company to the British government. In 1882, Great Britain occupied Egypt and took control of the canal. The Suez Canal was declared a neutral zone, and international ships could freely pass through the canal in both war and peacetime. In the First World War, the British closed the canal for non-Allied shipping. The strategic importance was evident, as the Brits sent 100,000 soldiers to protect Egypt. After the Second World War, Great Britain decided that the Suez Canal was of immense strategic importance to maintain their colonial powers. It sent 80,000 soldiers to be stationed near the canal, making it the largest global soldier camp. In the meantime, unrest among the local Egyptian population started to grow. Partly triggered by their economic situation, but also caused by Great Britain's role in establishing the State of Israel. Tensions got increasingly more violent, which paved the way for a military coup by Gamal Abdul Nasser, who overthrew the Egyptian monarchy. Great Britain initially looked for stability with a diplomatic approach to Nasser. Nasser was however unhappy about Great Britain's close ties to Iraq and Jordan, afraid that this bloc would diminish Egyptian power in the region. Nasser sponsored local revolutionaries in both countries and sponsored violent incursions against Israel. Meanwhile, the United States became friendly with Nasser, in order to protect the region from Soviet reign. However, Nasser turned out to be playing on both sides, by purchasing weapons from the Soviet Union. The British Prime Minister, Anthony Eden, was growing increasingly frustrated with Nasser and in 1956 committed to overthrowing him. He however found no support from the United States, who were looking for peace in the region. On 26 July 1956, Nasser took a huge step by nationalizing the Suez Canal by military force. All shareholders were forcefully bought out and shipping to Israel was blocked. The British Prime Minister Eden immediately started planning a military operation. It was however important not to anger the Arab world and the United States. Great Britain discreetly made a pact with France and Israel to regain control of the canal. France wanted Nasser out because he was sponsoring revolutionary powers in their colonies. Britain and France deployed their air force to Cyprus and Malta. Israel started the attack on Egypt on 29 October by invading Sinai and the Gaza Strip, cutting Egyptian telephone lines and dropping paratroopers near the Suez Canal. The Israeli Air Force took control of the skies and their land force started moving in. The British Navy took quick control of the seas. Together with France, their air force started bombing runs. Nasser responded by sinking all the ships in the Suez Canal, blocking it until 1957. Paratroopers and Marines landed on Egyptian soil and the fight on land started. Nasser saw it as a people's war, giving plain-clothed people weapons. This posed a dilemma for the French and Brits, as they did not want to shoot innocent civilians. The whole operation turned out to be a political disaster for Great Britain. Back home, the population did not support the war. It resulted in tremendous international pressure and criticism. The United States were unhappy with the mission because it hurt Western Arab relations. They put financial pressure on an already cash-strapped Great Britain by blocking loans from the IMF. The United Nations also stopped selling oil to France and Great Britain. Uniquely, the Soviet Union agreed with the United States and even suggested attacking the occupation forces together. On November 5, the three countries controlled important strategic areas around the canal. On November 6, the United Nations forced the parties to cease fire and to reopen the Suez Canal. Britain and France withdrew, where Israel withdrew months later. Egypt was now a sovereign country, ruling over the Suez Canal. The United Nations Emergency Force entered the area to try to stabilize the situation. The Suez Crisis cost the lives of 4,000 Egyptians, 172 Israelis, 16 Brits and 10 French. Israel reached their political objective by reopening the Suez Canal for Israeli shipping. The tensions resulted in a new war between Israel and Egypt in 1967. It also sped up the decolonization of Great Britain and led to the resignation of Anthony Eden. It effectively ended Great Britain's role as one of the world's major powers. It hurt the relationship between the US and France, effects which are felt until this day. The French-British relationship was also hurt because British troops started withdrawing without notifying their allies. Nasser remained a popular politician in the Arab world until his death in 1970.